Dr. Michael Graves walked through the hospital corridors with firm and determined steps. His Italian shoes echoed on the linoleum floor, announcing his arrival even before he appeared. At 45 years old, with meticulously combed greying hair and an impeccably white lab coat, he was the embodiment of success and medical authority. As he headed to the operating room, his piercing blue eyes barely registered the people around him. After all, it was no wonder he was considered one of the best cardiac surgeons in the country. Turning a corner, he almost stumbled over a cleaning cart, his face twisted into a grimace of disgust. "For the love of God, can't you pay more attention?" he snarled at the grey-haired lady pushing the cart. Rose, the 65-year-old cleaner, looked up with a serene expression. "Sorry, doctor, I didn't see you coming," Michael huffed, walking past her without a second glance. To him, people like Rose were just insignificant cogs in the hospital's great machine. Little did he know that the seemingly simple woman harboured wisdom that would soon become his beacon in the darkness. As Michael went on his way, Rose watched him with a mix of understanding and pity. She knew that type of person well, so focused on their own importance that they forgot about the people around them. In the operating room, Michael was in his element. His movements were precise, his decisions quick and accurate. For him, there was no more gratifying feeling than holding a human heart in his hands, feeling it beat, knowing he had the power to save it or condemn it. After another successful surgery, Michael exited the operating room feeling invincible. He scarcely noticed the look of admiration mixed with fear from his assistants. At home, the reality was quite different. Michael entered his luxurious mansion, ignoring the children's drawings pinned to the refrigerator and the dinner carefully prepared by his wife, Sarah. "How was your day, dear?" Sarah asked, trying to start a conversation. "The usual," he replied curtly, grabbing a glass of red wine. "Where are the kids?" "They're already asleep. They tried to wait up for you, but—" Michael waved his hand, dismissing the explanation. "I have to review some cases for tomorrow. Don't wait up for me." Sarah sighed, watching her husband retreat to the office. She wondered when was the last time they really talked, when he showed genuine interest in the family. But Sarah knew that for Michael, his career would always come first. In the days that followed, Michael's routine remained unchanged. Impeccable surgeries, praise from colleagues, and an increasing detachment from his own humanity. He barely noticed the disapproving looks when he yelled at the nurses, or the awkward silence that filled the room when he entered the doctor's lounge. It was on an ordinary Tuesday that Michael's world began to crumble. During a routine surgery, he noticed something strange. The scalpel lines seemed blurred, the contours of the heart he was operating on less defined. He blinked several times, attributing the issue to fatigue. But the problem persisted in the days that followed. Objects that were once clear and defined now seemed shrouded in a subtle mist. Michael tried to ignore it, convincing himself that it was just stress. After all, he was Michael Graves. He didn't get sick. He had no weaknesses. It was Sarah who finally convinced him to get tested. "Please, Michael, if not for yourself, do it for the kids." Reluctantly, he agreed. And so, on a chilly autumn morning, Michael found himself sitting in front of his ophthalmologist colleague, hearing words he never imagined would be directed at him. "I'm sorry, Michael, but the tests are conclusive. You are developing early macular degeneration. If we don't treat it immediately, you could lose your central vision in a few months." Michael's world collapsed. His mind, always so agile and precise, now seemed trapped in a web of denial and fear. How could he, the great Dr. Graves, face a condition that threatened not just his career, but his very identity? In the days that followed, Michael became a shadow of himself. He distanced himself from the hospital, unable to face the possibility of no longer being able to operate. At home, he isolated himself in his study, immersing himself in medical articles, desperately searching for a miraculous cure that he knew, deep down, did not exist. Sarah tried to reach out to him, offer comfort, but Michael pushed her away. "You don't understand," he would shout. "Without surgery, who am I?" The children, sensing the tension, became quiet and withdrawn. The house, once a refuge from hospital stress, now felt suffocating, laden with unspoken words and repressed emotions. It was on a particularly difficult afternoon that Michael decided to return to the hospital. Not to operate, but to clear out his office. He could no longer bear to stay home surrounded by memories of a life that seemed to be slipping through his fingers. However, upon arriving at his office, he was met with an unexpected scene. Rose, the janitor whom he had often treated with disdain, was sitting in his chair, carefully cleaning the items on his desk. For a moment, Michael felt the familiar wave of irritation rise in his chest. How dare she sit in his chair? But before he could say anything, Rose looked up and gazed at him with an expression of understanding so profound that the words died in his throat. "Dr. Graves," she said softly, "it's good to see you here." Michael, taken aback by the kindness in her voice, just murmured, "I came to get some things." Rose nodded, rising slowly. "You know, Doctor, sometimes life puts us in situations we don't understand, but there is always a purpose." Normally, Michael would have dismissed such words as sentimental nonsense, but at that moment, fragile and lost, he found himself asking, "How can you be sure of that?" Rose smiled, a smile that seemed to light up the entire room. "Because I have been where you are now, lost, afraid, thinking my life was over." Intrigued, Michael found himself sitting in the chair in front of his desk, looking at Rose as if he were seeing her for the first time. "What happened to you?" "Cancer," she answered simply. 10 years ago. The doctors said I had a few months to live." Michael felt a lump in his throat. How many times had he himself given similar news to patients? But hearing it from Rose, a woman he had barely noticed before, felt different. How did you cope with that?" he found himself asking, his voice barely above a whisper. Rose sat in the chair next to him, her eyes shining with a wisdom that went beyond any diploma hanging on the wall. "At first I rebelled. I yelled at God, at my family, at the doctors. But then, one day, while I was at the hospital for yet another session of chemotherapy, I saw a young mother comforting her small child, and something inside me changed." Michael listened, absorbed. For the first time in weeks, the weight on his chest felt a little lighter. "I realized that even in the darkest moments we can still be a light for someone. That's when I decided, if God gave me another day, I would use it to make a difference in someone's life." Rose's words echoed in Michael's mind, stirring emotions he had long repressed. "But what if I can't be a surgeon anymore? It's all I know how to do." Rose smiled gently. "Dr. Graves, you are much more than what your hands can do. It's your heart, your mind, your experience. All of that is still here." She lightly touched his chest. "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness and patience," Rose said. Michael felt tears welling up in his eyes, something that hadn't happened in years. I don't know if I can." "You can," Rose affirmed with conviction. "And you know why? Because now you understand what it is to be vulnerable, and it is from this vulnerability that true strength is born." That night, Michael returned home with new eyes. For the first time in weeks, he really saw his wife, noticed the tiredness in her eyes, the worry on her face. Instead of isolating himself, he embraced her, allowing himself to be comforted. In the days that followed, Michael began to make changes. He scheduled appointments with specialists, not only to treat his condition, but also to explore new ways to contribute. He started listening more, viewing the hospital not just as a workplace, but as an ecosystem of interconnected lives. His relationship with the hospital staff also changed. He made an effort to learn the names of the nurses, technicians, and janitors. Each smile, each sincere thank you, seemed to illuminate his path a little more. At home, Michael rediscovered the joy of being a father and husband. He started coming home earlier, joining family dinners, listening to the children's stories with genuine interest. Sarah noticed the change, her heart filling with hope as she saw the man she fell in love with re-emerge. Weeks passed, and with proper treatment and a new outlook on life, Michael's vision began to improve. It wasn't a miraculous cure, but steady and promising progress. Each small victory was celebrated not only by him, but by his entire family and the hospital staff. When he finally returned to the operating room, Michael was a transformed man. His hands were still skillful, but now they were guided not only by technique but also by compassion. He spoke to patients before surgeries, listening to their stories, sharing words of comfort. Michael implemented changes at the hospital, creating support programs for doctors facing crises and improving working conditions for the support staff. The hospital, which once seemed cold and impersonal, now pulsed with a new energy of care and empathy. But something still bothered Michael. Since that transformative conversation, he hadn't seen Rose again. He asked at administration, checked the schedules, but no one seemed to know about her. It was as if she had disappeared. 1 year after his initial diagnosis, Michael was honoured by the hospital for his humanitarian contributions. In front of an emotional audience, he shared his journey, not hiding his past failures, nor his moment of crisis. "I've learned that true healing doesn't come just from medicine, but from compassion and human connection," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "And I owe this lesson to a very special person, someone who showed me the true meaning of caring. Rose." He looked at the audience, hoping to see Rose's kind face, but she wasn't there. At that moment, Michael understood. Rose may not have been just a cleaner, but a messenger sent to guide him when he needed it most. As he concluded his speech, Michael made a silent promise. He would be for others what Rose was for him, a beacon of hope, a reminder of human kindness. And so, Dr. Michael Graves, once known for his arrogance, became a symbol of transformation and compassion. Michael learned the most valuable lesson of all, that every life touched with kindness is a miracle achieved, and that sometimes angels appear in the most unexpected places and forms, ready to guide us back to the light when we need it most. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.